The New York Giants 2026 schedule has been out for a couple of days, and I'm going to tell you why I believe that Roger Goodell and the NFL might have thrown the Giants a bone. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and we are presented by Prize Picks. With the schedule release being here, that means real games are right around the corner. And if you want the New York Giants to get back on top of the NFC East, beating the Cowboys, beating the Eagles, and starting to beat the Commanders 2 years in a row. The Commanders have gotten the best of us. I'm tired of it. I want to get back to the top. Hit that thumbs up icon if you're with me. All right, so coming up on today's show, we're going to go game by game, and I'm going to tell you why every single game on the Giants' schedule has a little bit of good news for the Giants. The Giants' schedule is obviously set by the teams you play every year, but the way that these games are played and in the order that they're played are kind of left up to human decisions. And I believe the Giants might have got a favorable draw. Let's start with this one. The Giants are one of 15 teams to not play a team coming off a bye this entire season. So there will be no game the Giants play where the team they're playing has an extra opportunity, has extra days and an extra week to scout them. On the flip side, the Eagles, they have to do it 4 times. That puts into perspective how lucky you are there. Also the Giants have a +3 rest differential, which is top 12 in the NFL for the 2026 season, meaning when the Giants play teams throughout their 17-game schedule, they have a +3 when it comes to extra rest days compared to their opponents. And this over time has showed the more rest you have, the higher you are up on the rest differential, the more likely you are to win that football game. Let's start with week 1, though, versus the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, the Cowboys had one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. They have hired Christian Parker, who comes over from the Philadelphia Eagles, to now be their defensive coordinator, something he has never done before. So his first game as a defensive coordinator is up against the New York Giants, and that Cowboys defense is looking completely different. I reached out to my guy Tom Downey, who covers the Cowboys for Chat Sports. He told me they are expecting 8 new starters on that side of the ball. So a completely new defense, a new defensive coordinator. Are they going to be firing on all cylinders come week 1? We'll find out pretty soon. Week 2 at the Los Angeles Rams. This one's going to be tough on Monday Night Football, but we know that the New York Giants can compete in this game. At least I believe that. Also, the Rams play the 49ers in Melbourne, Australia in week 1. So this is one of those games where technically they will have more rest days than the New York Giants, but they are coming back from another country. There is going to be jet lag there, and maybe the Giants can catch them sleepwalking after they come back from Australia. Then you look at weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the New York Giants. The Titans, they just picked 4th in the NFL draft. The Cardinals, they just picked 3rd in the NFL draft. The Commanders just picked 6th or 7th, and the Saints picked inside the top 10. Those are games that you are supposed to win, especially with a coach like John Harbaugh. I feel like the sign of a well-coached team is winning games you are supposed to. And for the first time in a long time, the boys out west in Las Vegas are actually favoring the Giants in a couple of games this year. I don't think it was any last year. Maybe one that Saints game. But you're favored by 3 points against the Titans, 7 points against the Commanders. It's essentially a coin flip on the road against the Commanders. And then at home versus the Saints, you are 2.5 point favorites. So after a tough week 1 and week 2, you have 4 very winnable games right in front of you. And if you can go into that bye week in week 8 after the first 6 weeks or the first 7 weeks and you are 4-3 or close to 500, I think you'll be set up in good position. We got a lot more to talk about on today's show. First, though, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. And with Game 7 going on today, we've got the conference finals loading and the NBA finals right down the road, as well as baseball going down every day. It is now the time to get hooked up with Prize Picks, and they are hooking up all the real ones. When you download the app, create an account, use that promo code HMA, play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 instantly in lineups. You don't even have to get that $5 lineup correctly. We're ready to go, though, for Game 7. This is my lineup and some lineups that the boys at Chat Sports are using. We're taking the more on blocks and steals for Thompson. He was money in Game 6. Cade Cunningham, also a max discount. Prize Picks hooking it up. 0.5 points for him. I'll take the more on that. And then Donovan Mitchell, I think he's going to lock in for Game 7, at least play better than he has recently. Give me more on 8.5 field goals made. You can roll with my picks or fade them very, very easily by following me in their brand new social feed feature. You can find me at @MarshallGreen_. So download the app, create an account, use that promo code HMA, play your first $5 lineup, and then get $50 instantly. All right, so after you come out of that 4-game stretch versus all teams that picked inside essentially the top 10 or top 11 this year, you have a tough game at the Houston Texans. On the road, long flight. But it's also a long flight from Week 6 to Week 7 for the Houston Texans. The Texans play the Jaguars in London the week before. So like we talked about in Week 2 versus the Rams, you're getting to play another team coming off a long flight, I believe. That sets you up for more success than if you were to just play the Texans in Week 7 if they played the Jags in Jacksonville in Week 6. Then the bye at Week 8, then you're on to Philly playing at the Link. Giants get to play the Eagles. Coming off a bye, though, you get an extra week of preparation, an extra week of film, an extra week of John Harbaugh getting these boys ready, whereas the Eagles in Week 8 have to play the Commanders, who I know are not a great team, but NFC East games can always be tough. Any divisional game is tough, and those games are always going to be more physical, and I feel like you can get a really good game plan when you're scouting a team and they are playing their divisional opponent, as they have to go that extra mile to get that mental edge. Then Week 10. Versus the Washington Commanders. The Commanders play the 49ers on Monday Night Football, then the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, and then the Rams before the Giants in Week 10 on Thursday Night Football. Niners, Eagles, Rams, that is a very, very tough schedule. 3 straight games versus some of the best teams in the NFC, and then it's a short week as well. Thursday Night Football, Giants, Commanders, you get to play them off of some very tough games. Then you get to Week 11 and Week 12 for the New York Giants. Slight underdogs versus Jacksonville and slight underdogs versus the Indianapolis Colts. But they're getting a little bit of a boost here, or the Giants are getting a little bit of a boost for being at home. I think the Jags are a team that is due for regression this season. And in this stretch from like Week 11 to Week 3, the Jags only get to play like 2 times at their home stadium. A lot of neutral site games for them, and then it's a revenge game versus Daniel Jones. We'll see how the Giants have approached that, but I like our odds against Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts in Week 12. Then Week 13 versus San Francisco 49ers. The Niners have to travel across the country to play the Giants. And how many times have we seen in our life of being NFL fans, a team goes from the East Coast to the West Coast, or a team goes from the West Coast to the East Coast, and they lose a game that they are supposed to win? The Giants are only 3-point underdogs in this game versus San Francisco. Vegas, they factor those things in and they weigh them very heavily. Also, the Niners have to travel more miles than any team in the NFL this year, and any team in NFL history, the most travel miles for any team. Maybe you can catch them slipping in Week 13. Week 14, you have to travel all the way across the country, and you have to play the Super Bowl champs. That's going to be tough, and you're not set up for success. But the Seahawks play the Cowboys in Week 13 on Monday Night Football. So the Seahawks will be coming off a short week. It's already going to be a tough opponent, but you get a little bit of help right there with them having one less day to prepare against you. Week 15, I really didn't know what to say about this one for the Browns, but history says, just like it has for the Giants, that the Browns will be out of contention at this point, and Las Vegas thinks that you should win this game pretty easily. -4.5 in this one. The Giants are favorites. Go take care of business. Beat the teams you're supposed to be. It's John Harbaugh and Todd Monken, the guy that you taught and coached for the last 2 years. Let's win that matchup. Week 16 at the Lions on Monday Night Football. Going to be tough. The Lions, though, back-to-back games on primetime. Week 16, they play the Giants on Monday Night Football. Week 15, they have to play the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. So a Sunday Night Football game against a divisional opponent, I think that kind of helps out the New York Giants. And then Week 17 and Week 18, you are kind of in a spot to control your own destiny. Let's say at this point you are a game and a half or 2 games out of the NFC East. Well, what if you go beat Dallas on the road and then you beat the Eagles in Week 18? You get to make up major ground in the division by playing 2 divisional opponents the last 2 games of the season. And if you want to look at it from another perspective, there is a world where the Eagles have the NFC East locked up by Week 18. And you could be competing for a wild card spot at this point. And maybe you get to play a team in Philly who is resting their opponents. And this game will be late in December, and the Cowboys, they don't have much success in December. My question for you before we bounce on out of here. The boys in Las Vegas have set the Giants' win total at 7.5 this year. That's much more than it's been in a long, long time. And they put you on prime time 2 weeks in a row. The big wigs out there think you're going to be pretty decent. What do you say? Over, under 7.5 wins? Let me know. I'm going over, man. I am. I tweeted this out over the weekend, and today is still the weekend on Sunday. It feels like a Monday, though. Well-coached teams, and I think I said it earlier, win games that they are supposed to win. And the New York Giants, they are favored in 5 games this year. Go win those games, and then go win some games you're not supposed to. You were able to do that last year versus the Eagles. You were able to compete in games you weren't supposed to as well. This schedule, I think, sets the Giants up in a favorable spot where they could be competing and maybe punching their tickets toward the end of the season. 5 games, though, you're favored. I think it was 1 game last year versus the Saints. Then the time you played the Saints, you were already underdogs. You go from 0 games favored last year to 5 this year. That tells me that they're listening and they're seeing what the New York Giants are cooking up. Appreciate everybody for watching today's video. If you haven't yet, please hit that thumbs up icon and give me a follow on social media at @MarshallGreen_.